My name is Marty Ketola. I'm a local filmmaker. We're presenting you a panel on what I call the Snowball effect. That's actually a term borrowed from Kevin Smith, but it's very apropos to how we made our last movie. The Snowball effect, it's very similar to like when the dominoes start to tumble, or even The Secret, or if you build it, they will come. It's that type of thing. When we first started the idea for this movie, it was virtually nothing. We had, two of us trying to get a movie together, and then one person comes on board, and another person comes on board, and then other people see, oh, you're doing stuff, I want to be on board, and the next thing you know, it's a giant snowball, which is still rolling completely out of control, and why we're here right now. This is the movie in many ways that TusCon built. 2 years ago, Fred was gracious enough to book our previous movie called Writing Frenzy in the video room. It had a very overwhelming positive response. People in the room said, we want to see more from these characters. We thought, there's no more for these characters. I thought this was the end for this. But see, these two guys here, Nate Campbell and Eric Schumacher, who were in the previous movie, have been asking me for about, 9 years at this point, when are you going to make a sequel? So in a way, you were the beginning of the Snowball. But then once the audience at TusCon said they liked the movie so much and they wanted to see more, I recorded that, put it up as a podcast. Cliff, my co-writer and co-founder, runner of the film company I do, he heard that. Next thing you know, he's writing a script. So a few months later, we still didn't have any money to do it. And we had an Indiegogo, raised maybe $300, $400, not nearly enough to make a feature film off of. And we decided, you know what? It's now or never. We have to take the lead. Also, another thing that helped motivate us, and I think it's part of that snowball effect as well, was our buddies Patrick Griffin, who's not here, and Joseph Yurgo, right over there, wanted to do a documentary about the making of our next movie, whatever that was. And we thought, well, we're thinking about making this movie right now. Maybe we should jump on this because they say they want to do this, and well, we don't have the resources. Screw it, let's just jump in. So on January 1st this year, we decided to do that. Went into auditioning, finding locations. Still didn't have any money, but it wasn't going to stop us. We had our first read-through, of which Geoff Notkin attended. He was just going to be customer number 7. He was so impressed by the read-through, he came on as one of the producers. Then the next thing I know, Cliff's father's throwing us some money. And now the budget's up to close to $6,000, which is what we wanted in the first place. So I'm still in shock how that happened, but it did, and it led us to where we are now. And let me introduce some of our other people here. We have Olivia Blake, who plays Katie in the upcoming movie Revenge of Zoe. And we also have Bradford Trojan, who is taking over the role of Billy Shaw. And it's just, geez, more than half the people in the room are involved in this movie. It's kind of like it said in the TusCon program, this half of the people at TusCon are involved in this movie, and it's almost true. We've got David Lee Summers, who played customer number 2. He buys his own book in the movie. Right behind him is customer number 1, Christian, who buys
That's right.
We got Bobby and Elisa. Without them, where the hell would we be? That's another example of the snowball effect. Our director of photography and our sound engineer. So it's crazy how this all came together. Hopefully they'll let us show it here next year when it's done. And Geoff put together a little slideshow.
Aye, lad.
And it's going to show us the various things that you need to get your project up and going.
Should we hit the lights?
I don't know, I kind of like the lights being on. You can see it, right?
Yeah, we
Turn the
can
lights
see
on.
it.
What is the audience like?
Should we
What
vote?
do you think?
Audience?
I see it looks fine.
Light,
I think
dark,
it's fine.
light. What do you think?
Oh, you leave the lights on. Oh, yeah, you can read it.
Well, if you can read it in the front row, then it's probably fine for everyone else. No.
Yeah.
I can read it and I have bad eyes. Go.
I'd say that is a yes. Okay.
Fireworks. Oh, get or write a great script. That really helps because that gets people involved and they want to be a part of it. You can even have a crappy script, but if you got enough enthusiasm and drive, you can also get people involved. But it really does help if you have a good script. I'm glad everybody liked it. That's Cliff. He was the co-director. He's my co-writer. He is the rock and foundation of Pondo Enterprises. I've been working with him since 1988.
And you mentioned this briefly, but last year, well, for quite a long period of time, my great friend Eric said to me, "Oh yeah, I'm working on this comic book film. We're doing this indie comic book film. And every time he would mention that, I'd interrupt him and go, "I want to be in it." And he goes, yeah, I've already got you in mind for part, and it's a small part, but it's funny, you'll like it. And so I kept hearing this, and it became sort of a joke with us, and anytime he mentioned the comic book film, I go, "Have you got a part for me in that film?" so then he sends me the script, and I read it, and I really liked it, and we, certainly Eric and I, and probably everyone in the cast, enjoy planting, cast and crew, enjoy planting little amusing things in the film. And so the idea was, I would walk into the comic book store and I would buy a copy of my own book that I'd written about my life in the comic industry. Whew, so self-referential. So we had the read-through at Charlie's Comics, which is one of the main locations for the film, and I already knew Marty and Eric, and met this guy and her and this guy, amazingly talented cast. And I read my bit. I shouldn't really admit this, but I'd read my bit. I'm busy. I read my bit of the script, and I learned that. It was very small. I go to the read through. But that was the first time I really understood the film. I was sitting there with the cast, hearing them read through, and I go, "Good grief, this is a fantastic script!" And I was getting more and more excited as the read through went on, and the fact that we were in a comic book shop doing the read-through was very exciting. And then as soon as it was over, everyone's chit-chatting, and I go outside and I go, "Eric, I need to talk to you right away." And I dragged him outside and I go, "Do you think the guys might be interested in having somebody else come on board as a producer?" And he goes, "What, who?" And I go, "Me, idiot." And he goes, "Oh, really? Well, I'll talk to them." And he goes, "Why?" And I go, "It's such a fantastic script, I want to be part of it." So thank you very much.
Thank you.
For the opportunity.
You also helped us with art direction and set direction.
I did wear a few hats, didn't I? Yeah, we'll get onto that later. And so I met Eric at my first TusCon. And so for me, also, none of this would have happened without TusCon.
Yeah.
And I was talking about this at the address last night. There's so many people at TusCon that were involved with this film in one way or another, and most of the extras in the film are here. As Marty said, half of them in this room. So that was how I got involved.
And the other half, you'll be in the next one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. If you don't plan, forget it. Filmmaking is planning. You'd agree on that, right, Eric?
Oh,
95% is planning.
A ton of pre-production.
Rehearsing. A lot of big budget movies will not do rehearsals. They don't have the time or the money. You would think they would, but they don't. And we also did our first storyboards for this movie, which, forget it, helped immensely. If you don't pre-visualize the shots, you don't know where you're coming in and out. Somebody's hand will be here, it'll be over here in the next shot. Editing nightmare, but not this time. There we are studying on set.
It's one of the things that really impressed me about watching you and Cliff work together. It's very unusual to see two directors working together. Often
Right.
you'll in a TV series you'll have a lot of different directors, maybe each person doing an episode, or you'll have a big film like The Longest Day, where different directors do different segments. But you guys work really well together, and I was so impressed by the planning. And when Cliff came to town, we really shot most of the movie in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And it was long days every day. You took one day off, right?
Something
took
like
one
that.
afternoon off,
Yeah.
I think, a Sunday or
Just
something.
for a day where we couldn't find people scheduled on
But
that days.
it's one of those things where the more you put in at the beginning, the easier it is when you get
Definitely.
on location.
Yeah, when you're on set, you don't have the time to figure these things out. And all the time you do ahead of time will save you so much. I'm basically saying what you just said.
I'm not a guy who likes to plan, really, so it was a very good learning lesson for me to watch how well they did all of this.
Cliff and I share the same brain too, so it helps.
Here's a question for you. When you got on the set, how much of the time did you dump your storyboards and reconceive the show?
Oh, that's also a very good question. We would always consult them, but after a couple days, we realized, I don't need to do this, I don't need to do this, here's I need to do this, this, and this. And so we would adapt from them. But if we hadn't had them in the first place, we would have been lost a lot of the time. But we didn't stick 100% to them, that we used them more as a guideline. Low budget does not mean unprofessional. That's true, it doesn't, because you can have a big budget and be completely unprofessional as well. It could work that way. We had a blast, and we were very efficient, and we were all there for a reason. We knew why we were there. There was no goofing around. There was no prima donna. There was nothing like that. I mean, that day right there is a good example. Hottest day of the summer. And we're out there with big smiles on our faces. And did anybody even get sunburned that day? I don't
No.
think we did. You had that tent that you pulled out. See, this is another thing. Jeff just keeps pulling these things out. We need a tent. I got a tent. We need a restaurant. I know somebody with a restaurant. And that's another good example. You pull in all these great people and great resources, and then they'll have everything that you need to make your movie.
The story that I love about that day, it was one of our stars, Rachel, who plays Zoe, the namesake, has tattoos, and we had to cover the tattoos because she's wearing a superheroine type costume. I'm going to just skip ahead to a picture of her while I'm talking, and then we'll come back and revisit these. But no, I'm going too far. So we had a makeup artist who was going to do the tattoo cover up, and at the last minute, the makeup artist cancelled. And so I had to call Marty and Cliff at about 8:45 in the morning on the shoot day and go, my makeup artist just cancelled. I'll sort it out somehow. Do you have any suggestions? And they said, you'll figure it out. So I went, I'm sitting in the parking lot in the Foothills Mall at 8:45 and I'm going, we're supposed to start shooting in 15 minutes. So wonders of smartphones, found a makeup shop that was open and drove there immediately and walked in. I was the first customer, and there's two very vivacious women in there who both had a kind of Cyndi Lauper thing going, like great big hair and super makeup and everything. And I go, I'm in a bit of a jam, I'm a film producer and I'm shooting a film and my star's got body tattoos and I need to cover them up, and we just got to, what have you got? And they go, oh no, we don't do body cover up. You need to go to XYZ body cover up shop in Sierra Vista for that. And I go, no, I have time. I'm going to take whatever is the best recommendation you have. And they really got into it. They go, okay then, well you need to start with this. And I know it seems weird, and we pulled all this stuff out. And I drove up there, and we have a beautiful charismatic actress in her superheroine costume, and I'm the only guy who's not doing anything. So I was just taking location photographs that day, and I don't really know anything about makeup, but figured it out. And so I did the body makeup for Zoe that day. And one of you guys took a photo of me that I posted on Instagram when I'm putting the makeup on.
Yeah.
Putting makeup on a superheroine, who doesn't want to do that?
Another credit.
Right, well that was the thing. So I captioned my Instagram photograph, as of today, doing makeup on location. I'm now reasonably sure I've done every single job in this business. I didn't have makeup.
It's also funny as an aside to that, and also the reason that Jeff does all this stuff, he enjoys doing it. He just gets a huge kick out of it. That makes a big difference too. If you don't like doing this, then you shouldn't be in this field. But we were out there in the desert, and Cliff was screaming, I need a rock, because we needed a rock for a prop. And we got the freaking geologist here with us. And then we realized, you find us a rock.
That was one of your best moments in the film. So what is, explain the scene.
So we were trying to
please.
do, it was a trippy kind of scene. My character's tripping out. Has a dream sequence thing. And so one of them, we wanted a rock so I could like have some water behind it and drink. Looked like water was coming out of the rock. And it had to be the right rock, the right size, it had to be the right shape. And, yeah, so that's what it was.
It wasn't priceless, man, was it? Because Cliff's getting kind of, God damn it, we can't find the right rock, and I can see the bottle, and then he goes, we've got a goddamn geologist on the crew. You go find it. Like you would need a geologist to find a rock that's the right size and shape. It's nothing to do with geology. It's actually more like art direction. But we all had a good laugh about that.
There's Elisa out there in the desert getting some great shots for us.
That was what I think the professionalism aspect to me was, not just the cast who were fantastic, but our crew were so good, and Bobby and Elisa who are sitting right here. Where Bobby was our director of photography, and Elisa was the sound director. sound director.
Location sound.
Location
And she did a lot of location management, and the two of them are like a two-person production studio.
Kind of an army.
Yeah,
Force.
it's really impressive. It's like having a full crew, and so Bobby will be filming, and Lisa's doing sound, and they work really well together. And originally, Bobby, you were just going to do some of the key scenes in the film.
Right. Just the director of photography role with, instructing cameramen basically how to set up the shots and what type of format that we wanted in key shots, and have somebody else, actually do the shooting. But fortunately, we had the time off to come out and
We were available.
shoot.
It was all about availability. We wanted to be on set the whole time.
Boy, am I glad you
What was
And,
great?
yeah, just lucked out that the stars aligned and we were available the entire shoot.
What was great about that is that we actually were able to have two cameramen basically on the scene at one time, so we get multiple angles at the same time, which I think saved a lot of time. And probably editing, because you have the same angles
Yeah.
twice.
Definitely multicam's the way to go. The technology of syncing it up nowadays. Yeah, we had additional cameraman, Mark Brady, and Deacon, as he calls himself, which is he's like Cher, he goes by one name. And they were, under Bobby's, I guess, leadership. You would think Bobby's running all the cameras. It matches up that well.
Yeah.
And Bobby and I share a lot of overlapping abilities. I'm also a cinematographer, though I yield to him because he's so much more mathematical and better about it. But I was able to help out because I have that skill set for the last 20 years, being especially out in the desert and being able to get all that extra B-roll.
And that's Bobby and Cliff working
They're like brothers.
together.
I know, they look like brothers.
Yeah, you guys really
We
do.
copied each other's beards.
Oh,
remember?
I
Each
would
other's
get you
beards.
all confused on the set.
I know.
Something I really like is when a director says to the DP, "What do you think?" Instead of just, so a lot of directors just go, "Get this shot, do that." But I noticed that both you guys conferred with Bobby a lot, and when you work together, it makes such a big difference, especially when we're a small team and you've got really limited time. And I don't remember any instance, at least I was there not all the time, but most of the time, I don't remember any headbanging going on.
Well,
between
and that's, I was gonna actually have Marty talk about that, and since Cliff's not here too, it's just, this is the ease of, Bobby's worked with a lot of different directors, and it's like synergy, when you get the right DP with the right director, it's just magic happens. And Bobby has had that with a very few. Alan Williams is the other one, that they just did beautiful stuff, and I think both you and Cliff, though you're so different, you both worked with Bobby, and and Bobby had you could speak to that,
It's magic.
yeah.
It's great. Well, you're the wizard.
We should get him a little wizard hat for the next one.
I went saw an interview with a director of photography. He said the DP should stand for director's pal.
Right.
So
The great
sometimes
thing
you get directors who are very in control of the camera, and sometimes they want your feedback.
Right.
Cliff and you were just outstanding.
Well, we had to do some pickups after the fact when Cliff went back to Oklahoma City, and thanks to you, you can't tell the difference between my footage and Cliff's footage. It all blends together. Find the best looking, most talented cast possible. Well, they found us. Is the crazy part. And no, that's a great shot right there.
Oh,
Olivia
that's good.
and Mike, who
That's good.
plays Owen, the little crony at the store. We were blessed this time. A great cast came out for auditions. It was a very difficult process of figuring out who we wanted for what part, but I think everybody ended up just where they were supposed to be. And like I said earlier, we didn't have anybody who was a problem. Everybody was just
except for
except that guy on that day. He was completely out of control.
So here he is without his beard, looking so handsome and youthful. When he walked in, I didn't even recognize him. That was the rock. That was the drinking out
That
of the rock.
was the drinking the rock
day.
scene, crazy day, which we got to have just a lot of fun out there running around. And
It's funny because on previous movies, we didn't hire actors. We stuck our friends in front of the camera. And that's not a good idea. They're not actors. Hire actual actors. There's people that actually want to do this stuff, and they're out there, and they'll do it for almost next to nothing.
Wait a minute.
Anyways. I didn't make up Penny.
I'll even feed you.
She'll even feed. She did.
I did.
I did.
Fantastic too.
But anyways, you were saying, I don't want to cut off your story there.
No, it was so good. It was great. This was such an amazing experience, and just what an amazing group of people, the cast, the crew, everyone involved, and this was especially fun. This was like we kind of came off of a really late night, and I probably about 3 in the morning.
Oh, it was brutal.
4, and then we got up a few hours later, and then went right out to the desert and started doing this. So it was kind of like perfect
It added
dream
to it.
sequence.
You were
It
just
added to
saying
the
that we were-
delirium. And
Let's go back.
Oh, I'll go back to those, but those.
Okay, there's Rachel.
Beautiful
dressed
makeup
as
work.
Frenzy.
Oh, thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Your makeup work.
You can't see her tattoo at all. Costume design by Ginger.
Yep, by
Your
my
wife.
lovely wife, who is also a costumer and a props mistress and a few other things.
She here?
Yeah, she's actually selling soap in the vending area.
But you said we're gonna go back to that picture of True,
Sorry, which one?
the one before. That
There we
one.
go.
We shot a couple of scenes in Isla Games, who are a sponsor of the con. See, once again, it all just ties together. And that's Patrick, who was in the previous movies, who was also the guy making the documentary on the left there. Some of you might know Drew, who runs Isla Games. He graciously let us shoot in his store.
He's also-
That was a blast.
Also a fine actor.
He's
Oh,
great.
very good.
He's funny.
Perhaps he has a lot of comedy theater, so he's just, one of the most amazing comedic actors I've ever worked with. So part of that connection, company I'm a partner in, Sealy Studios, did a 13-season branded web series called Bob and Angus Show for a very large game manufacturer. It was a puppet show, and Drew was Angus, the black sheep, for about 200 episodes.
Wow.
So we really wanted him for this film. He was also gracious enough to play a role. So
Let's go back to the deserts. Isn't that the next picture?
the desert.
Yeah. That one says it all. It's a great picture.
That's so good.
Oh yeah, I also doubled as location photographer, tripled. How many
Right.
jobs did I have on the film? Can't
Look
remember.
at your IMDb
5,000.
page,
I
you'll just
can't,
be-
I can't count that high.
All of IMDb.
Ah, yes,
shot at
famous
Jeff's
avocado.
Once again, using every possible location we could find. We need another bedroom. I got a bedroom. We know the bedroom. You gave us access to one of the bedrooms.
Yeah, this is actually my personal bedroom.
Yes, it
and,
is.
it's it's sort of weird. It's one thing when you're there filming, and then it's another thing later when the filming's over and you're getting on with your normal life and you're reviewing the cut and you watch the scene and go, oh, that's my friend Eric with Sarah Jackson in my bed. Comic by Rhea Golden. How did that happen?
In your bed with your sheets?
Yes, those are my sheets.
Another example of a
Woo.
great set direction.
Yeah, Elvis would have loved them in the jungle room. So I did pull them out specially. I don't always have them on the. Well, I wash them. I
Those are your
spent.
special occasions.
They are my special occasion sheets, and I thought what would be most appropriate for this film
Very perfect.
with this cast, and there was really only one fabric. for
That's a
that.
fantastic Sarah Jackson, who played my character's fiance in the film, and dominates all the scenes she's in, of course, in a good way. That comic book was art by Rhea Golden, written by George R.R. Martin, and so we had, as Geoff said, a lot of guest stars, and we also had guest star art. In this case, that was sent by Rhea to use in the film, all licensed appropriately. So a lot of very well-known artists contributed their works as comic books that got shot in the background or that a character was reading. Nate got to do a scene where he's asleep, where he's griping about something in the store, and he puts a comic book over his face, and that was another fairly well-known comic book that sent us the book. And so that was another really lovely thing. We had guest stars, but we also had guest star art. And so this movie is really a movie about people, but it's also peripherally about comic books and art. In fact, David Summers, like Geoff did, had a scene in the film where he bought his own book in the film.
I love how it's all subtle too. they're there, but it's nothing like, oh, look at this product placement.
Right.
It all just kind of fills in the background.
A little Easter eggs
Yeah,
throughout the
exactly.
film, which we thought was very kind of cool.
Since it's a film about the world of comics, we wanted to really populate it. Oh, continuity error.
But that's not
No,
a
she
shot
doesn't
in the
have her
movie.
gloves on.
Oh, right.
That's right.
Gloves.
Very well recognized. Yes, that was a
She
location
already
shot.
knew
That
that.
is not a still from the film. See, this is why it's so nice to work with professionals.
Ah, the Cafe Tremolo scene. That's another good example of, I was telling Olivia before we got in here, I've shot several movies over the years, and usually before the movies are out, most of the locations people have either moved away from or the place is no longer there, and that's already happened twice with this movie. Olivia has moved from her home, which was used as a location, and now this great restaurant is no longer there. But we immortalized
We
them
did.
in the movie. And that's Christina Pfluger, who plays Nate's love interest in it. A lot of love interests in this movie.
Yeah, there are a lot of
Everybody's
bedroom
sweating
scenes
up.
in the movie, but all very tastefully done.
Yeah,
of course.
maybe PG-13.
And I should say, a lot of very good chemistry as well in between the performers in each scene.
Hey, what have we been talking
The
about?
very topic we were speaking
I
about.
jumped the topics.
That guy.
That guy.
Let's talk about that guy.
So this is Lucas Turnbloom. He is a great friend of mine and a very famous cartoonist. And we met many years ago when we were still making Meteorite Men. And he followed me on Twitter, and I followed him back right away because he was a cartoonist. And we started this dialogue, and he goes, "God, I love your show, and I'm crazy about meteorites, and I have this wacky idea. Can I email you?" And so we started this long dialogue, and he wanted to put my co-host Steve Arnold and me from Meteorite Men into his comic strip, which is called Imagine This. He was doing a daily strip at the time, as ourselves. And I'm a cartoonist and a comic book enthusiast, so I loved that, and we became friends. We've had a long history working together on projects. So when I got involved with the film, I thought, let's take this idea, because it was your guys' idea to have me, is how it all started, go into the shop and buy my book, and the same with David. Let's really run with that and populate the film with as many cartoonists and as much stuff from cartoonists as we can get. People that we knew, that we have permission to use. And so I flew Lucas out from San Diego just to do this bit part, and it's so good. And he'd never acted before, he'd never done any filming. It was the very first day of shooting, wasn't it? I forgot about that. Yeah, we started off with a
It's
bang.
the last scene of the movie.
Yeah. Oh, the irony. And it's a very funny scene
Oh, yeah.
where Nate is trying to impress his love interest, and he goes over to this customer to do a hard sell, and Lucas just not interested, and Nate's character pursues him, and there's a very funny routine.
Trying to choke him.
You have to wait and see the film. But at the end, Nate's character goes, "Here, buy this, you'll like it." And again, it's Lucas's own graphic novel, and so there's a lot of referentiality there. And on the left here is the fabulous Autumn Ivy, who is a guest here. She's a very well-known cosplayer. I'm sure a lot of you know her. And she and her girlfriend were just more people that we called and said, "We want to have you as extras in the film." It's just, is there anyone in this film who's not associated with TusCon? Might be a better way to approach it.
Well, now that these guys are here, pretty much nobody, I'd say. Yeah.
Cartoonists, friends of mine that were met through Frank Powers. So I'm sure all of you who were at the event last night will remember. Well, how could you not remember the gentleman with the shaved head who was painted purple and blue with the solar system suit? Well, that's my friend Frank Powers, and he is a real character. He's from New York, and he introduced us to these guys who are extras, and we just ran with it. And that is Frank. That is the guy who was in that unbelievably fantastic outfit last night.
It's funny because at the astronomer's crypt you were talking about smoke, and remember we were kept more smoke, more smoke, machine.
Oh, I was doing that too, wasn't I?
Yeah,
I was
there's
a
another
machine
smoke
wrangler.
machine operator.
And we were so concerned about too much smoke that we had the smoke machine. This was filmed at my office. And
Another example.
We took, so Marty's going, God, we don't have somewhere for the poker room. And I thought, I could probably use my back office for that. We converted, it's actually our shipping and receiving office at my company, and we converted the whole thing into a nightclub scene. And that you did a fantastic job lighting that. That's
Big budget prop for that tablecloth. I need a white tablecloth that'll reflect the light. Okay, I'm going to Target.
it's a really good example of just we got to do something right now. We can't go, oh, we'll sort it out, come back and reshoot it tomorrow. You've got to do it on the spot. And we realized that day that we couldn't show the labels on the beer and the whiskey that Bradford's characters drinking.
Iced tea, I remember that.
So, and I had to
But
make iced
if
tea
we
with
could
no
make it
bubbles
look-
in it.
With no bubbles,
Yeah.
that'd be very still.
So-
Why we just didn't give you whiskey? I don't know.
Yeah, we should
Why
have
did I just drink whiskey?
because he had
Yeah,
to because we kept doing it over and
Yeah,
over
that's
again, and I'm running in and out with the smoke machine. We go more smoke, running from the kitchen with the smoke machine.
Too much smoke.
No, I mean, you'd never guess it from this, but there's as many people as you see on camera. There were twice as many people just behind the camera going, "Hold that up! Okay, move that! More smoke! Get iced tea with no bubbles in it." So yeah, whenever you see that in a movie, it's usually not whiskey. But we had to make all the labels and all that stuff really in the last minute.
There's Frank and friends again.
Colorful extras.
Pitch in, we're all in this together. That's right. We're not union. It's not, oh, I can't touch that sandbag. I'm union. We all know this. I mean,
all
look,
touch
there's
the
Eric
sandbag.
even running the
I
boom.
know.
I don't normally do that though because I suck at all.
You only
the
did it for
technical
me.
stuff, But yeah, for you I do it.
We all did a little bit of everything on this. We're like hippies on a commune. There's Deacon in between Mark and Cliff, and then there's Joe hiding in the background documenting the whole thing. Great thing about the documentary crew, you never knew they were there. They're capturing everything behind us, and as I'm cutting the movie, I don't even think about them. I forget they were even there, so
Mark
we
was
could have done a better job.
the most photogenic person on set.
Right? Well, that's why he plays. He's
He
the
was
only
he's
camera
awesome to take
operator
video of. It's
who's
just-
an actor,
and
and
he
he
captures it all.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's important. Don't go on and be like, oh, your last scene that just sucked. You were horrible in that. You can't tell people that, and you also can't show them that you're freaking out about anything, because then they will pick up on that and think everything's going to hell. You got to take that all inside and then go home and let it all out. But on this one, that wasn't happening. So it was great. That's a good example of day one. Geoff comes in, we got this poster on the wall. He says, take that down, I'm going to cut that border off of it because it'll look better. And you know what it did? And it felt like, here we are on day one, we're there with scissors cutting up comic books in this colorful store. I'm like, am I back in preschool? We're just doing arts and crafts. It was great.
It was so much fun though. It was such a pitch-in situation. I mean, particularly that day, but there were so many times when, like Eric with the boom, and everybody did extra. And you often hear stories about, actors were prima donnas or this. Everyone on this film did multiple jobs, and the cast had a lot of dialogue to learn and comparatively short time to do your scenes, some of which were very complicated scenes. And Olivia and Nate and Bradford, they're fantastic actors. You guys all did such a good job. And I've heard this over and over again from friends my colleagues I've showed little clips to. They said you're one of the best acting drunks that they've ever seen.
Because I don't even drink.
I know, that's
Really?
what
So
was so
it's good.
impressive,
It's
is that
something,
when you
isn't
would
it?
literally watch him, and I remember someone on set the first or second day that you were on, and everyone was like, is he drinking? And it's like, no, and then you were mostly method for most of the day, and then you came in the next day and you're like, hey guys, da, 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 da. And I'm like, Bobby and I are like, oh, that dude is seriously impressive.
We had
Yeah.
quite a discussion about you the night before, like, is that guy for real?
Yeah.
Is something wrong with
Yeah.
him?
Yeah.
So tell
Awesome.
us about the throwing you out of the bar scene.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
my
that was great. It's a blast. You get to do these things that wouldn't never normally happen unless it would be painful. And so it was great because Eric and Ginger really, and Josh actually, he made it very safe. I felt like
Josh wasn't involved in that actually.
for getting thrown out.
No, it was a combination of.
Well, he had you thrown out,
well,
but he wasn't the guy.
Right. He didn't throw me out. Well, what I'm saying is that Josh was there before, and we had a long talk about
did you?
stunts.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Before we got to the
okay.
scene, so I felt, and then by the time You and Ginger got there, we had everything. Because being safe is also very important. You know, you're getting thrown into bags on
Safety first,
asphalt.
on set.
Yeah.
It's not worth it. You're
It's-
just making a movie.
That,
Don't
by the way,
hurt
was talking
yourself.
about Josh Madsen, who played Chow, the sort of in the bar scene where they're all gambling. He's sort of the big boss, and he also spent many years working at old TusCon. He's done a lot of
And he's
stunt
like
work.
this
He's a
freaking-
giant,
Yeah.
a very, very solid actor, and worked with him many times. Yeah.
So we had, it was filmed at night, again at my office in the parking lot in the back, and Cliff and I worked on this for a long time. We got these trash bags, and big black trash
Oh,
bags,
yeah.
and we filled them up with torn up paper and bubble wrap and everything that we could find that would be good for padding.
Styrofoam.
This concrete floor, yeah. And then Cliff very carefully got scissors and cut these long grooves in the bags, and he set it all up. And Eric's done a lot of fight choreography, and Eric and Marty are both very safety conscious, and it was this and it was that, and a test, the gun and camera and this and that, and Cliff and I are putting all these little tiny bits of paper and stuff all in so that they'll poof out when he gets thrown. And
We should have it underneath that.
And there was a
also
mattress.
there was
Oh, right, there was a mattress
there
as
was
well.
There was a
Crash
multi-layer
pad.
crash pad that we
Yeah.
had tested many times. It was very, very safe.
And you fell on the.
I made sure
Yes,
that-
right
Yeah.
on your back, just right flat.
Yeah, we actually was right. Yeah, so we'd all tested this thing before we even let him near it.
so the bouncer
Director
comes
always
out.
tests.
The bouncer comes out,
With a loopy.
actually physically throws Bradford, and it was so fantastic. And he goes poof, and all of this stuff goes up in the air, all these little bits of paper, and it goes all over the place. And there's a moment of silence because you never want to be the guy that goes, "Oh, that was fantastic!" So everyone's being very quiet, and then Cliff goes, "Cut," and then we're all kind of like, "Oh, that was really good." And then you said, "Should we do a safety?" Marty was like, I think it's you, Marty. You go, "I'm not going to mess with the film gods on this because that was so good. Nobody was injured. We're not going to do it again."
Next time Bradford will hit the pavement.
Yeah,
right?
It's like,
That was
uh-oh.
virtually
Overshoot.
the only scene that we only did one time.
Yeah,
One take.
and especially
Yeah.
for an elaborate stunt. And
Yeah.
it's great.
But I love that. We're not going to mess with it. You know, the director always goes, "Yeah, let's get a safety. Do it. No, let's do it. Let's do it from another angle." No.
And we're like, Bobby was good. Looks good. Okay, let's
Yeah,
move
exactly.
on. Oh, Geoff cutting out. We had to commission some artwork for the movie because there was the storyline involving this fictional comic book called Frenzy, and there was a very special issue of it. And then we had to get somebody to do the artwork for us. And so here's Geoff's workstation where he's cutting out the pages and making the fake comics worse. There's Val Kilmer up in the corner.
And that was Rhea Golden's art again.
Yeah.
She did a cut. She's a very well known cartoonist, and she did custom art of one of a very important comic book cover for this movie. So that's an original.
And
piece of
there's
artwork.
an amusing little thing here. I dialogued with Cliff a lot on doing the artwork, and I put the text in. And the day that I was doing it, I was listening to the Misfits, and they're a punk band. It's one of Cliff's favorite bands. And this song "Last Caress" came on while I was doing the artwork, and I go, "God, that's a dynamite song!" And I just put it on repeat play, and I listened to it about 20 times while I'm doing the cover. And I go, "Oh man, one last caress, then die, Danny, die." And then I sent it to Cliff, and I go, "It's the Misfits. I did it especially for you."
Yeah.
So that's what I mean about having fun with it. It's just and talk about having fun.
And in the fake labels.
Yeah, this is my favorite bit. So in the bar scene, there's shelving in the background, and you or Cliff said, "Oh, we need cases of beer in the background because it's a bar." So I sent one of my staff to the liquor store and said, "I know the owner. Just tell him that Geoff sent you, and could we have empty cases of beer and beer boxes. I don't mind paying a few bucks, whatever. We'll give you a thank you in the movie." So they come back with all these boxes, and it was day off, and I go, "God, the guys are arriving in about 2 hours. I better really get it together." So I just invented all these labels, and everyone is named after famous cartoonists. So you'll know Jack Kirby. And that was my favorite, Kirby, Krakatoa, Savage, Nickel, Fist, India, Pale Ale. So, Jack Kirby of Thor, Fantastic Four, and, everybody pummeling everybody in his comic books.
And you all picked your favorite.
Yeah, everybody got
artists.
to, all the producers got to pick one.
I never could settle on one, and mine would have been Romero Red, but he's a film director. It wouldn't
Oh,
have
I
fit
would have
in
done
with
that.
But see, it's good because it's all comic artists.
Yeah.
against
And they're
Steve Ditko.
prominently featured too.
Yeah, you
I'm
really
glad
see
they're
it,
not hidden
yeah.
away, because sometimes you do all this work and you can't even see it in the movie, but not in this one.
And we saved all of those, so when we do the next Kickstarter, if you want one, you'd be sure to let us know. And
Or examples.
Same with the beer labels that we had to make.
Number 8. Don't forget why you're doing this. We make movies because we love them. It should be for anything that you do that
That's a
you
great picture.
want to do for a living. It should be something that you enjoy.
like it.
And I've done a
She's
bunch of
planning.
projects over the
I'm
years.
just-
Never had this much fun.
Wow.
That's a great picture.
Olivia, what are
I'm
your
talking to someone
favorite?
apparently. I don't know.
Oh, I thought you were just doing your kind of
No. I have no idea.
So what's a favorite recollection for you of the adventure?
There are a lot of them. I think maybe when the three of us were working together, I don't really want to give a whole lot away, but we working together on breaking up a fight and
Oh yeah, that's good.
That was a great scene.
yeah, I really enjoy that. There was a little bit of improv in one of my scenes that I was dared. I said, I can't remember who was with me and said, you know, it'd be really funny if you did this. And I did it. It stayed. It stuck. We kept it. It was pretty funny.
Oh, I know.
That was awesome, yeah, that's exactly,
That's a good
that
one.
was perfect. I love that.
Yeah.
know.
That's one of my
Somebody
favorite
was
scenes.
inside with
You'll
me
like it.
and said it'd be very funny if you did that.
And she improved it, and the person she improved with also
Was-
improved it well, so.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
didn't,
It's like
didn't
without a
skip a
beat.
beat, nothing,
Yeah.
just kept on going.
Yeah,
I think overall my favorite
There's a joke.
I was just skipping through some stuff because I
my
wanted
favorite
to.
anything was
this is getting
everyone was very humorous about everything.
I like that day
except
a
that.
lot.
Yeah.
That was the last day of shooting when we had
And
your
my little
customer
tattoo
there.
shop.
They had to teach you how to properly tattoo, which is cool because the guy who a Christian who runs that tattoo shop is called, what's it called? Black
Black Rope?
Black.
Dragon or something like that?
I think
Jeez,
so.
you'd think
I
I'd
pass
never
it every
know all
day.
this stuff, but he was awesome enough to let us use his
Very nice.
his shop. I just went in and asked. He didn't know who we were. He's like, "Oh, movie, cool. I like movies." I said, "Really? Is that easy?" And we were running over, and he came back and said, "Oh, you guys need a few more hours?" We're like, "Yeah, we're sorry. We're almost done." He's all, "Just do good work," and he walked off.
Drove away. Bye.
It's like, really? You're just gonna leave us with your shop? Just do good work.
Yeah.
I still can't get over
He
that.
sat with me because the first time I held it was from the very back and it
Yeah,
looked ridiculous.
Like, he's
I
like,
wasn't-
nobody does tattoo like that. It's like, oh, it's good
he
to
said,
have.
no, hold
somebody
it like this. And, yeah, just
I would-
don't put your foot on the pedal.
Pull
That
back
was
the
always a
skin.
little scary.
What?
You already messed with me with that one. I was like, ooh.
That was fun. Everyone was very
No
humorous
pedal.
about everything, and we made the film. We all stayed on task. We all were very professional about it, but we were also having fun, and definitely throwing in movie quotes and
Oh, yeah.
television quotes and just making it very fun. I've read a couple here and in Florida, because I'm from Florida. I've read a couple of comedic scripts, and I noticed our very first read through really surprised me of just how much I enjoyed the script even before we went through the read through, and I heard everyone saying their lines. I thought it was a very funny script, and I have not read any funny scripts up until now, up until this one. I thought that was really good. So,
Just wanted to mention, this is known as an art city. And everybody here would love to help you out make your movie. And you can get this story here where this guy says, sure, you can use my location. This is not that unusual. You can get amazing locations well, for instance, the last film I shot, I met an LA film guy who said, if you shot that movie in LA, your location expense would be $50,000. And here, it was zero. Because just ask people, they say, sure, you can come shoot here. Just like that, coffee shop, a restaurant, nightclub, and an industrial building back end. I mean, all this stuff is available just by being a normal person and not a weirdo and asking permission.
And having the drive to actually go
And
and ask.
to do it. But people,
Get 10.
total strangers will help you out with things that they know are impossible, like locations. So if you're making your movie and you've got an exotic location and can be found here, ask. You can get it, you can get it, you can actually get it. That's the lesson.
Nate, would you tell us about this day?
Same scene that she mentioned just a few minutes ago here.
Was this a scene or was this an outburst?
It was,
get your line
There was a reaction there, yeah.
I got,
That was great. We actually filmed that scene in 2 separate days, as I recall.
Yeah.
One was early on, then we had to go back and do some of the other stuff. I think this was from the second day,
Yeah.
lower down,
You can
and
tell because of the early crash mat, which is
yeah.
the day Eric missed it and his knee hit the floor. I'm like,
Oh, God. Yeah, we had some issues.
I love it that we even worked on a project that has the phrase early crash mat in it.
Right.
As opposed to the late crash mat.
Which was much better.
I got beat up a lot in this movie.
You do, you get abused quite a bit.
I get slapped. We need to have a running count at some point.
Yeah, when we
I
put
like
together all the
extra.
outtakes, easily
during
30,
this scene,
40
Jimmy
times.
said to me, hey, or he said to us, he can squeeze harder, I can handle it.
Yeah. I wanted to make sure it looked good.
Yes,
you know?
it doesn't look real enough, is he squeezing me hard enough?
Dude, you see the
Don't
tendons
give
in his,
up.
in his hands coming out, you know?
Well, Eric's a professional actor, so he actually was not choking him at all.
Actually, that'd be a good drinking game, is that every time Nate's character gets strangled or punched or...
I challenge anyone to make it through that.
Yeah.
You'd be out 20 minutes into the movie.
Love it.
Well, we got about 5 minutes left for our panel here. Let's see if we can. How many more pictures do we?
Oh, it's just a few.
Oh, perfect. Then we hit our mark. Then.
Okay. Any
I
questions
feel like,
from
I
the
feel
audience?
like we didn't hear enough.
Yeah,
from
we didn't hear.
Bradford.
Yeah.
Really?
Tell us.
I know
Tell
I
us.
saw a
Tell
little
us.
something. I want to make sure everybody gets an equal.
Look at that. Look at that scene.
I love it.
My favorite scenes with you are the driving scenes.
The driving scenes
So
are great.
just
yeah.
and it's again it was my car as well. They go, yeah, we need a
Yeah.
funny old beaten up car.
I know, it was your
I've got this
car.
old
Your
car
car
that
gets
I
a
drove
car.
out from New York many years ago, and I just can't bear to junk it. And
Well, we had such an experience in it, you know, just that night when we were filming all the green screen scenes, and it's just being able to, like, you know, be insane in the car, and I think it was, you were saying, rapport and the relationships with everybody in the movie was great. Like, you know, it's the first time I had met a lot of everyone here, and it was just such a treat, and especially with Rachel, like, you know, we know we have some intimate scene, you know, we gotta do, and it's just like we just became so close and buddies, and like, and it's just that helps a lot. I
And you
think.
get slapped a lot.
And I get slapped
Yeah,
a lot.
especially that
I've got a
night.
bit of a Pavlovian response now when I get kissed because I know what comes after that, and it's still sore. But yeah, it was just so much fun. I mean, this was a blast. This was just a good fun every day going, and like you said, no drama. The seriousness and egos and things like that, like it just.
I think the worst thing that happened was we'd start to shoot and somebody would walk in the store and it's like, okay,
Yeah.
gotta wait for 20 minutes till they're done shopping.
just the logistical
Okay,
thing.
ready to shoot again, you'd have that slate up, another person comes in.
Yeah.
And it happened the third time, and that's when Cliff's like,
Cliff-
oh my
Cliff-
god, it's like,
Cliff lost it
but
on
then
that
when
one.
you see the actual scene,
Yeah.
you never even know if there was any of that.
Yeah.
And wasn't there one customer who was in the store for so long that you just put him into the movie?
That's
He
true.
wasn't actually an extra.
Sign release.
Sign
It's gonna be
release.
in the movie, okay.
That was Isle Games there.
Yeah, that's Cliff being Spielberg.
Do we have any questions from the audience?
What's my arm?
There's your arm.
That was fun because I made
I
tattoos.
did that tattoo.
And you did that tattoo, and it was amazing.
So if
Fun.
I may, so the one thing I think we may have neglected to say, so Revenge of Zoe is a film set obviously largely in a comic book store, and it's really a film about friendship and the boundaries of friendship, and the basic plot line is a famous screenwriter has to write a film based on one of the most famous comic books in this world we've created, and he had done it's a sequel to something he's written before, and he worked with these two owners of a comic book store to create it the first time, and then he really screwed them over, and they're very angry at him, and he gets a lot of money to write another script, and he has to do it quickly, so he has to convince them to help, and he also has a bit of a problem with many substances and and gambling debt and lots of other things. So it's kind of, this film is about how friendship can heal wounds. There's lots of fantasy scenes. We're not entirely sure throughout the movie, for example, if the superheroine is real or not. And then there's a bunch of kooky characters in the film who make up the world, the world that these guys live in, including the tattoo artist next door who regularly breaks up fights of the two comic book store owners and things
Yes,
like
the
that.
women are the strong
They are
characters.
actually,
Yeah.
yeah.
They're the strongest.
I thought it was really funny because I played a series of roles up to this where I was the badass who cleans out the room and walks away with everyone else lying on the floor groaning or bleeding, and I'm the one getting beaten up by women in this film. And I thought that was pretty funny. And everybody, I mean, my character was about the wimpiest in the entire film. Well, I don't think there's illusions in the script that my character couldn't really actually hurt you.
Well, you appear to be the most conservative character,
Yeah.
but behind closed doors, you're definitely the keepiest.
That too.
Yeah, as demonstrated in my bedroom.
Yeah.
It's pretty weird, let me tell you.
So there's a lot of
It'd be one thing if we weren't friends. I go, oh, they came and filmed it.
There's a lot of fun stuff in this film, though. Lots of, like I said, Easter eggs, lots of geek culture references, lots of great guest stars, and it's now in just about at the picture lock stage before we go into color correction, and it's looking really sharp.
Yeah.
That's due to the efforts of our crew, our cast, our producers, everyone who played a part in it. So please do, as this says, follow us, check us out, and by sometime early next year.
And
we
you'll
should
be
be showing
super
the
impressed by
best.
Bradford because all of the drugs he takes are fake. He was
Very
literally
convincing.
microwaving mushrooms we're talking household mushrooms that you eat, not shrooms, to be fake shrooms, and he's like tripping out, and this guy is an ace. It's like, is he really high? No, those were literally mushrooms and soy sauce.
I'd like to add one thing, please, which is this film is going to have a kick-ass rock and roll soundtrack.
Oh, yeah.
And this is something that we all wanted. We talked about it from the beginning. We're all rock and roll fans, and a lot of the movies that we care about over the years there's so much that's added to them because of the soundtrack, and we're not licensing famous music. And the official story is because we're indie punk and we don't want to establish bands, but the truth is we can't afford it.
Yeah.
So we are featuring a lot of up and coming bands, friends and friends of friends, and some bands that I worked with in the old days. And it's very much like the comic book thing. Let's feature people that we know whose work that we like, and it's an example of how you can all work together with other artists. So we've approached 10 or 12 bands and said, hey, how would you like to contribute to the soundtrack? And we're going to pay them a bit because we always believe in paying the artists when we can. But if you're a music fan and a comic book fan, you're going to like this film. We got both of them jammed together like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Yeah. And someone who appreciates the independent spirit. This is all about working together for mutual benefit and supporting each other through the intensely difficult work of being an artist, and doing that in such a way that we can all love each other through that process. So.
I really feel like a better person at the end of it. It was such an enriching experience, and it reminds me of being in a band. It reminds me of being at art school. So thanks for the opportunity to be
Thank
part
you.
of your movie.
Yeah.
Well, as I like to call it, punk rock filmmaking.
Yeah, man.
It was the DIY. Well, thank you all.
Thank you so much for being here.